a Chinese junk on Hong Kong's harbor. One October day in 1511, one of these sailed upstream past the ancient village of Bangkok, bound for the capital, Ayutthaya. There was nothing unusual in that. Junks carrying goods between Ayutthaya and Ming Dynasty China were a common sight on the river by this time. This junk, however, was carrying a passenger the likes of whom the kingdom had never seen, and his arrival would mark a new chapter in Bangkok's history. Bangkok. Thainland's vibrant capital offers visitors a rich tapestry of ornate temples, gleaming skyscrapers, irresistible shopping, famously fiery cuisine, and bustling street life, most of it spreading east from the banks of the winding Chao Phraya River all the way to the city's two busy international airports. What most people don't know is that the most famous stretch of Bangkok's riverfront is man-made, carved to reroute the river and expedite trade with a new group of foreign visitors. These fresh imperialists ultimately failed to lure the locals into their empire, but they did introduce something that so successfully conquered the local population that it remains an indelible ingredient in Thai cuisine. In those days, the Chao Phraya flowed here in a great ear-shaped loop and enclosed the ancient town, all part of a kingdom whose ruler, King Chhatrapati of the second Supanniga dynasty, sat on a throne dozens of kilometers to the north in Ayutthaya. Ayutthaya was a cosmopolitan capital, and merchants came from all over Asia to trade silk and satin, carpets, jewels and gold, for rice, epar, tin, elephants, and ivory. There were Chinese, Arabs, Indians, Malays, and Persians. Many settled in Asia. The Chinese junk sailing north to Ayutthaya that particular day in 1511 carried a new addition to the mix. A Portuguese tailor turned emissary, Duarte Fernandes, the first European in Siam. Fernandes was bringing news that his commander, Admiral Alfonso de Albuquerque, had captured the Malay port of Malacca to the south, something Ayutthaya had failed many times to do. Fernandes's mission: win King Chhatrapati's support for Portuguese control of Malacca and open trade between Portugal and the kingdom foreigners had dubbed Siam. As a peace offering, Fernandes presented King Chhatrapati with a ruby ring and a golden sword in a diamond-studded sheath. King Chhatrapati acquiesced. Portugal had won a trading partner, Siam a powerful ally. 2 decades later, in 1534, Chhatrapati's second son, Chhatrapati, seized the throne from his nephew in a bloody coup and took his father's embrace of the Portuguese even further. Within a few years, King Chhatrapati had 120 Portuguese bodyguards and Portuguese mercenaries in his army. In return, the king allowed them to build settlements, a church, and practice Christianity. The Portuguese brought more than military muscle and Christian faith. They also introduced Siam to exotic foodstuffs from a new world: corn, guava, pineapples and papaya, tomatoes, potatoes and pumpkins, cabbage, cashews, and peanuts, and chilies. Without these, many of the most famous Thai dishes today wouldn't exist. Tom yum spicy sour soup, som tam green papaya salad, and just about every fiery Thai dish you can think of. In 1538, King Chhatrapati decided the river's meandering path was a tortuous impediment to trade. He ordered a shortcut be dug for merchant ships plying between Ayutthaya and the sea. Using water buffaloes to dig a channel, the king's workers created Klong Lak, Bangkok, cutting to just 2 kilometers what used to take 14. Klong Lak opened in 1552. As the Chao Phraya's waters rushed in, they gouged it wider and deeper. Eventually, the river's original course dwindled, and the village they surrounded now sat on an island formed between the old river and the new canal. As trade on Plunglot grew, so did the island village. King Chattachachirab didn't live to see this island village. He fell ill and died in 1546. His younger brother, Chanracha, seized the throne a couple of years later and became King Mahachakrapat. In 1557, he erected a wall around the village and a fort where Bangkok meets Klong La. King Mahachakrapat dubbed the port Thonburi Si Mahasamud. Locally, however, it was still known as just the island village, or in Thai, Bahang for village, Gaw for island. Bangkok was born. One of the cheapest and easiest ways to survey the section of river once known as Klong La is to take one of Bangkok's regular river taxis along its route. If you venture to Pra Pink Plau ferry pier on the Thonburi side of the Chao Phraya, you'll be just upstream from where the new canal began, near what is now the nave of Bangkok Noi. From here, orange flag ferries will take you to every major pier along the canal, including Thonburi Station Pier, Pranok, Tachon, Tatian, and last but not least, Ratchani, just south of where Klong La Bangkok meets the mouth of Bangkok Yai Canal. This stretch of the river is also where you'll find some of Bangkok's most famous sites: Wat Prakal, the Grand Palace, Wat Po, and Wat Arun. These venues weren't built until long after the riverbanks they line were created in 1552. So many great monuments leaves room for only a few hotels along this part of the Chao Phraya. Close to Pranok Pier, you'll find charming Baan Wanglang Riverside. This 32-room hotel sits right on Klong La, Bangkok, with its entrance in bustling Wanglang Market. Downstream near Tao Tien Pier is the Riva Arun. This 25-room hotel sits right between Wat Po and the river, with views of Wat Arun on the opposite bank. Bangkok is famous for its street food, so don't miss the variety of dishes turned out at these humble street-side diners and carts. The food is served hot and healthy enough to satisfy all but the most squeamish diner. Your best indication of whether the food is safe is to see how many locals are dining there. You pay the bill after you eat, but don't forget, lest you get an angry waiter chasing you down the sidewalk. Wanglang Market's myriad food stalls stretch from the riverside almost half a kilometer westward from Pamak Pier to Arun Amarin Road. Wanglang is also a good place to hunt down some Portuguese-inspired egg-based desserts, including egg custard or kanom malkang, almost mores de adero or tong yap, and fios de elbows or foy tom. For a sumptuous dinner overlooking Klong La Bangkok, don't miss Supatra River House. This gorgeous restaurant is by coincidence owned by the same family that owns the Riva Arun, and whose matriarch started the company that runs the Chao Phraya River ferries. Near Tatian Pier, you'll find a host of trendy cafés. For a sumptuous Thai dinner with a fabulous rooftop view of Wat Arun, try the Supanniga eating room. Klong La Bangkok ends just above Ratchani Pier. To get off here, you can take a ferry across the Chao Phraya to Wat Kamlayamami. As it happens, this area of Bangkok would, a couple of centuries later, host the city's own Portuguese community. Their church still stands here, along with a few hundred of their descendants. The only site left from the 16th century, though, is one the public isn't allowed to visit. From the parking lot of Wat Kamlayamami, you can peer across Bangkok Yai at Wichai Prasit Fort. It was there, on what is now the Thai Navy's headquarters, that King Mahachakrapat in 1557 built Pom Wittayakhom to protect Bangkok's southeastern corner from foreign attack. The fort was eventually upgraded, but not, as you might think, to better defend Bangkok from foreign invaders. On the contrary, a new group of foreign interlopers would use the fort in a vain effort to keep the Siamese from chucking them out.